Cubic was allergic to spiders, I checked what spiders I have. I actually have a spider dragon. That's a hybrid between a spider and a dragon.
I wonder how that happened.
That
exactly.
sounds scary as fuck.
It's a spider dragon. I don't understand what the fuck they were thinking.
Okay, how does a spider dragon look? I'm trying to imagine it, but I really cannot. I don't see how those two species mix. And there
A
is
dragon
that.
with 8 legs, maybe.
Um, think like a dragon body with like mandibles, four wings, like an ant body and a tail.
And instead of fire, he spits webs.
Flamed waves.
I'm not going to reveal that. What they can or can't do. That was just okay. Anyway, hello, is everyone present?
Yeah,
Yep.
just give me 13
Si,
seconds
senor.
to finish the reading the splash screen.
Sure thing.
You were saying something when I left from Alia's place that I didn't understand. What did you mean by rolling treasures?
Oh no, as Mr. Pete realized, I've added something to the game that's going to be like an intelligence challenge, which might or might not have sweet ass loot.
Or it could be just ass.
No, let's just say it like this: you kind of want to win this one.
Are we going to see it in play this session, or you're not sure?
Potentially. It is intended for Costler Ravenloft, yes. So, I'm assuming, Manis, you had time to read the splash screen?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. I am now fully ready. I have my coffee here. I have my drinks here. I have everything here. I'm all yours.
We kinda ended the last session so long ago with the brutalized murder of whatever tried to brutally murder you all. I think the very last thing we did was Benjen investigating the creature that the group had managed to finally slay. Finding a little arcane object that both Assam and Radar could feel hums with magical energy and seems to give off some form of light. Those that have traveled among you would recognize this as something called a drift globe, like a semi-intelligent moving light source. That was the extent of what Benjamin found on the body itself. But with the investigation check, and now this is new information, having checked the deceased female, Benjamin would have been able to ascertain that around the neck of this woman there would be clear and definite handprints, as if someone had been choking or like grabbing the throat upon death and after. So there's a dead body here that's been strangled. Female seems to be a woman, probably in her 30s or so. You could probably roll a medicine check to investigate to see how long this woman has been dead.
That's an investigation, or
No, medicine check. So one or two, you can roll that.
Oh, no one in the group has medicine proficiency?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Roll a 5. Lucian roll a 13. It's not a recent death. Uh, like I said, 1 or 2, not all 4. So I'm taking minus and Lucian's rolls.
Benjen rolled investigation, so that doesn't count anyway.
No, he also
Okay. So.
he rolled 14, so his investigation was what saw the handprints. Lucian, you would know that bodies tend to decompose at different stages. Like if it's warm, they rot quickly. Manus, don't do that.
I'm trying
Or
to look at the logo of the guy that made the map.
yes, but never do that. Like literally, never do that.
Sorry.
Next time I'm going to put a fucking dragon there. Then we are going to roll initiative.
Spider dragon.
Yeah, spider dragon. The fact that the body is like bloated and withered enough implies that it's probably been a number of weeks that this woman met her demise. So, it's not a fresh kill by any means. But it seems like just literally a body that's been strangled or held underwater until drowning and then let go in the river and being taken by the stream.
Could this be the daughter of that mad woman?
From what both the mad woman and the Vishtani said, with your medicine check, you would be able to put 2 and 2 together and find out that it's not likely at all. This body would probably have been uh, dead even before that girl ran away. Also, the age here with a woman in her 30s heavily implies that it's not the case.
So did she transform after we killed her? She was like a monster before that?
Are you asking?
Or
Or are you asking the group?
no, I'm asking you, like, are we just having the pleasure of looking at her more closely now, or did she actually transform after her death?
Make an intelligence check.
Where the hell is intelligence? Oh, I mean, just raw intelligence.
Um, you were perceptive enough to notice that this creature were using its hair in ways that are, not human. Um, also, in terms of like mobility and stuff underwater, it seems very inhuman. But one of the things that strikes you when you look at the body is that this probably was a human at some point. Something has changed the unfortunate victim into becoming something else. Whether this happened prior or post mortem, you don't know.
It's probably work of the dark powers, the evil in this land.
All you know for a fact with that 8 is that something has corrupted the physiology of this woman. How, when, where, you're not smart enough to have a idea, but yeah, there seems to be corruptive essences uh, influencing people.
Benjen, shall we try to bury her?
Can do.
Put her to rest.
I can dig a grave with you as well to help you.
Do you have shovels?
Can't we dig with hands? I'm joking. No, I don't think we do.
Give me a second. I might actually.
I'll say for the sake of it that radar does not.
No, I don't. I thought I had a pickaxe, I think, but it seems I didn't. No, I don't. Can't we make a shallow grave next to the water or where the sand is, like here?
Yes, you could use the sand as a shelter, sure.
Perfect.
Make an intelligence.
I would say if we cannot bury her, we should burn the body. If it's been tainted by magic or something, we don't want that evil magic to spill in the water.
I agree.
Manis, you know that the concept of burials come from avoiding bodies being scavenged by animals. You're also smart enough to realize that the sandy areas near a riverside are prone to erosion, meaning that the water from the powerful waterfall is probably going to drag sand with it. So if you drag her near the shoreline and bury her under the sand, she'll eventually probably get uncovered or something like that.
Okay, then it's not worth the waste of time.
How long that will take depends entirely on how deeply you dig.
Yeah, and she'll contaminate the water as well. Let's burn the body, as Sam said.
Yeah, burning the body is actually a good idea, and we can do that
Can't
on the
I-
beach.
Can I use prestidigitation to light her up? It says I can light out a small campfire.
Yes.
I know she's not a campfire, but
She's
I
a
was just wondering.
wet-soaked woman. She doesn't qualify as dry tinderwood.
Okay.
Okay. Can I gather some dry wood from the forest around us?
Yes, you probably could do that. You could probably also spend some time doing prestidigitation, Azam, to dry off the body while Lucian is doing that.
Okay, I can do that. Since it's a cantrip, I can use it over and over to dry her, make a bacon out of it.
Radar is going to assist on just gathering the firewood, so it halves the time.
Meanwhile, dear Benjamin, can you help me with disease cleansing lay on hands?
I can, yes. I'll remove the 5.
Disease cleansing?
Yeah, I still have the -6 strength from her kissing attacks.
Yes. Who said that was a disease?
It is not a disease.
No.
I have no idea what the fuck it is. That's what I'm gonna check. I would strongly suspect that that shit is not a disease.
I would
It's
appreciate.
probably drain.
I would appreciate to get rid of it though.
I'm sure you would.
I think it's just stat drain or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know if
like-
it's in 5e.
It's a stat drain effect, so it goes away on a long rest. It's not a
Okay.
disease.
I
The
think also
other thing was a
restoration.
disease. This is just literally direct contact. Either lesser or greater restoration would fix it, or both.
Actually, speaking of resting, could someone else gather the wood? I would like to have a quick rest to recover.
Are you doing
Or-
that before or during?
Oh, it depends how long are we going to gathering wood. Like, I'm proficient in survival, by the way.
Yes, I'm just wondering if you take splinter damage and die or not.
I would also like to do a short rest to regain my superiority dice.
Yeah, let's rest before burning her. I
Oh,
guess.
you can take a short rest if nothing
Yeah,
else.
short rest. I need.
Yeah.
We can take a short rest while looking at her burning if you want.
Yeah, that's fine as well.
I'm not going to wander off in the forest with 1 HP.
I would just love to, get back some my abilities.
You will not. It's a long rest or greater restoration, which is a level
You're
5.
talking about the -6 strength thing. No, I'm talking about getting back my superiority dice and action surge,
Oh
which
yeah,
are
no,
short
that
rest.
action surge is long rest, isn't
No, it is short rest or long rest, like whichever comes first. I'll link it.
So are we getting the rest? Can I roll my dice?
it? Yes, you can. Who stands guard?
Okay, rest of
I
15.
will.
Before anyone adds hit dice, who stands guard?
I said I will.
Okay. Make a perception check for me, Asam. Yeah,
Oh, it's fine.
you notice nothing.
I fell asleep while being on guard.
I guess Irene is also on guard. I mean, she was not injured too much.
Sure, I'll roll a perception check for her as well. 12. Yeah, okay. Nothing in particular seems to. Whoever rolled hit dice can add hit dice. Anyone else want to spend hit dice or
I'm
some?
resting. I'm watching, so I cannot.
Okay, I'm just gonna check if Rother has the ability to. He does, but he can't. Never mind. I'm just checking something quickly. Uh, yeah, never mind. Um, you rest up. You seem to recover. You manage to dispose of the body. Benjen, you would know that the orb you found with Rardar's like studying it tells you that the key phrase to like make it start lighting up is illuminate.
Okay.
You seem to rest up. You see the body a bit away from you just like slowly burn into a crisp. That awful smell of burnt flesh. Um, you feel a bit like saddened at the sight of probably an innocent person ending up this way. Some of you feel secretly happy that this creature that almost tried to send you to a water grave is dead. But you come to your senses. You relaxed. Some of you feel significantly more healthier than you were before. Others feel like you probably uh, is hurting in places you don't even know the name.
All right, gang. Shall we move on to the castle?
Yep.
Let's follow the yellow brick road.
I hope there will be no more surprises on the way there.
Yeah, you totally haven't been paying. Uh, Sorry, I was just writing the keyword on the item. So,
Okay.
I'm assuming you're just going to like ascend up to the waterfall from where you were.
What do you mean up to the waterfall?
I mean, like, if you look on the world map now that I brought you to, right?
Mhm.
You began by going to the crossroads there and met the Vishtani there. Then you followed the dirt path here to the waterfall that's like kinda here.
This
Still
is the
with me?
waterfall.
Yes, that is a waterfall. But you
Oh,
see
okay.
how it says plurals here? Means that there's several of them.
Ah, okay, okay. It's a cascade, yeah.
Yes. So you're currently here. Do you want to try to like ascend the dirt path here, or do you want to go back to the Vishtani camp and do the really long way around?
We go up, of course.
Okay. So after you've done your combat and your rest, you realize that you're kind of at the base of a canyon of sorts, and you've kind of experienced the power of the waterfall firsthand. Uh, Above you, there's that stone bridge that you saw in the distance earlier, and you realize that you have to do like a winding path upwards that is several hundred feet upwards. So you have to like ascend this dirt track and like weaving routes up the hill to get up to where the bridge is. So you start literally walking up the hill. So like you go forward and then there's a U-turn. Then you go forward, then there's another U-turn. And like a snake winding up the hill, you just ascend and ascend and ascend. Several hundred feet. It's in some areas steep, others reasonably steep. It's tiresome, it's exhausting, but you're making slow and steady progress. Um, do you, when you're about halfway up, you can assume that you've probably ascended 300 or 400 feet up. The bridge, far above you, seems much closer now. Do you want to push on for the latter half, or do you want to catch your breath?
I say push on.
Push on.
I'll go with the others.
Same here.
Okay. Then I want the entire group to make Constitution check.
Check, saving throw, what exactly?
It's not a saving throw. It's just literally seeing if you're exhausted.
Ah, Jesus Christ.
That first one was for Radar. The second one was for Irina. Benjan and Lucian, you both take 1 point of exhaustion.
Damage.
Ouch.
No, they don't take damage. They are exhausted.
What is
Oh, okay.
points of exhaustion?
Exhausted is a condition that has several levels. At level 1, you have disadvantage on ability checks. So whenever you have to roll like a stealth check, you have disadvantage.
Mhm.
At level 2, your speed is halved. Level 3, disadvantage on all saving throws and attacks. If you're at level 4, your hit point is halved permanently until you're like not exhausted anymore.
Mhm.
At level 5, you can't move whatsoever. You're too exhausted to walk. And if you hit level 6, you're dead.
Ah, okay.
So you all make it.
Nice.
You all make it up the hill. But Benjamin, Lucian, you are particularly exhausted at this point.
Cool.
Does it go on a long rest or a short rest?
Yes, this is all going away on a long rest, I think. Or it's like finishing a long rest reduces extortion level by 1.
Where do you mark exhaustion on the character sheet?
You don't.
Ah, okay.
Just remember.
But like, as long as you don't get exhausted before you go to have a like a night's sleep, it goes away. If you can't sleep for some reason, or you do something super exhausting again, that's when you hit level 2. So it's like if you were to like traverse of like icy mountains while it's snowing, you probably wouldn't be able to sleep, and then you just get more and more exhausted.
I get it. Considering that we are using experience milestones and not experience points, can you use the experience points tracker on the character sheet as exhaustion points?
No, because don't consider that. Just literally just think of it as you're being super fucking tired at this point.
Okay.
Uh, on your tokens, I have an ability to show you exhaustion levels.
Ah, okay, okay.
Like
Perfect.
this is exhaustion level 5. You can't see it since it's
I
zoomed
see it, I
out.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Ah, okay.
so
Ooh,
It's a little
never
smiley face
knew.
that has
yes, but
Never knew
literally,
about this mechanic. It's pretty cool.
what Benjen and Lucian understands is that literally ascending like 300 meters straight up in like steep hills have made your thighs and like ankles and legs just literally burn. You're really freaking tired at this point, and both of you were damaged in the fight, so you're not doing too well at the moment. You could go for like a rest and relaxating turn, but you make it
Uh,
up to the bridge.
a quick question. You said
Yes.
you lose 1 point on a short rest and it goes away completely on a long rest, or
No, you lose 1 level on a long rest.
okay, short rest doesn't affect it.
No, we're talking about like muscle fatigue here, not
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
literally
yeah.
like energy fatigue.
Makes sense.
What time of day is it? Do you still have time to reach the castle by night?
You're getting to the part where it's 3 or 4 in the afternoon ish. Uh, you're definitely in the latter half of the daytime hours. You could try to roll a survival check, see exactly how late it is.
I have proficiency,
But
but I rolled a 2.
Assam, Assam asked the question, so he's the
Yeah.
one that gets the
Ah,
answer.
okay.
Azam, you will notice that it's probably actually past 4 o'clock, like from what you would know as 4 o'clock.
Okay, so I turn to the other and say, we must make haste if we want to reach the castle by nightfall. It could be dark very soon.
Yeah, we're pretty exhausted here. And I look at Benjamin, who is huffing as well.
Um, you're standing in front of the bridge. It like arcs over this chasm. It's stone bridge where the stonework is pretty encrusted with mold. It's like it has like, greenery growing on it, and you see the stonework is old, but it seems super sturdy. There are figures on the bridge. There seems to be like tiny statues of like gargoyles that's like cloaked in this black moss that's standing on all 4 corners of the bridge. Uh, their faces kind of worn down by the weather and time. But you can see hints of scowls and like frowns on their faces, as if they were meant to like uh, scare people away or give them this superstitious feeling of like dread. Um, all the time, as you're here, there's this thunderous, absolutely overwhelming noise of the waterfall right next to you. Um, You don't know how many liters of water it's continuously dropping down at this moment, but it gives off this solid, heavy rumble in which you barely can hear each other when trying to yell at each other nearby. So, this is where you are. What do you do?
Continue on.
Try to cross the
Okay.
bridge.
You move over. Some of you are like hesitantly looking towards the gargoyles to see if they come to life. They don't. You just like slowly move. Where do you go?
We keep down the road.
Okay. You're in the more mountainous regions, so you can see it's like a lot of like uneven terrain on all sides of you. But as you're wandering down the road, you can still see a couple of things. There's still forest here. There's still mist and fog. And as you're continuing on the road, you can again study the valley a lot. You can see the mountains, you see some of them are filled with snow. You see uh, settlements, houses scattered all over, some with like very thin wisps of smoke coming out of them, signifying there's people there all over the valley. Others, like with no trace of smoke or anything, seems still. But you keep on walking until you get to what seems to be a split in the dirt road. There seems to be a path going westwards and a path going eastwards. When you reach this split in the road, the eastward path that seems to be going towards the castle on the mountains seems to have patches of cobblestone. Almost as if like the road here at some point had been uh, made more safe from like dirt and mud and such, where they've actually spent the time to create stonework for horses and men and wagons to ascend towards the castle. Parked at this, you can see something. There is uh, a carriage standing at this fork. It looks a little bit like, and I'm struggling to find it. It looks a little bit like that.
Oh, nice.
The carriage itself, made out of wood, but it's been uh, either made out of blackened grease or it's been painted black. There are two uh, horses that's like attached to the wagon. They're also black. You can see them snorting out puffs of steamy breath into the cold mountain air. There doesn't seem to be a driver. You can see the light on the side of the cart reveal a door that just like slowly creeps open. Okay.
Finish the description and everything, and I'll go after.
No, that was
Kind of.
literally the door
Okay.
slowly creaking open was the end of the description.
Okay, I'll go. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay.
Um, does this
We'll,
sound?
we, we'll wait for Assam here.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has had an allergic reaction, so he's taking like an anti-allergy pill.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Went out in the weekend on Saturday as well, and I think I had an allergic reaction to pollen Like the entire day, my eyes were runny.
Uh,
Yeah, this is not the season for you.
yeah. Little did you know, it's actually the best thing that could happen to you that you get like short breath, runny nose from pollen. If it was something else causing it, you'd probably be a bit more afraid.
Oh no, I don't have problems. Like I don't get short breath because it's not like respiratory allergic. It's like runny and itchy eyes. That's what happens to me mostly.
Oh, never mind then.
And like the skin around my eyelids that gets itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have that. I mean, it's a very common thing. Have a few friends with those.
When I'm at home, like it's clearly due to pollen because when I'm at home and due to the fact that I live at the 8th story and it's pretty high up, I don't have this issue. But when I go out, it happens. Welcome, Bazuli.
Yeah, it has a name.
Oh,
I
sorry,
just
Virgin.
forgot how it's called.
I don't know. I know Claritin. There's like this over-the-counter anti-allergic drug that solves it, but I just don't want to feed myself pills every day.
Yeah, they're pretty
Clarity, yeah,
awful.
that's what I took.
So the door opened.
Yeah, they were opened.
I look to the rest and say, "Might it be that Count is expecting us, and this is our um, passage to the castle?"
Can we see if it's there, if there's somebody inside, or I don't know how you call the driver of a carriage, but the
There's
driver.
no driver.
You can see on the cart itself or near it. True. You can roll a perception check to see inside it and such. Uh, does that mean that you sneak up to like peek into it?
Well, in that case, I can I can go stealth and go near it, but it's still the 4 in the afternoon or something. I don't know what stealth I can get.
You couldn't. Also, the second you start your perception check, your stealth roll fades away, since you
Okay,
can't do two skill checks at the same time.
so I'm trying to get as close as possible, but not being detective if there's something inside. Just by the tree trunk or taking a look and stuff like that.
In pure Wile Coyote's fashion, you just like tiptoe up to the tree, peek, tiptoe up to the next tree, peek, tiptoe up to the next tree. As you're moving forward, you notice that both horses are just like like idly just like watching you and like slowly turning their heads to keep track of you. You're not the most stealthed person. You peek,
Yes, and I also light my cigarette so they can see it as well.
you peek in. It's a spacious carriage. Doesn't really have anyone in there. It seems to have very cushioned seats, so it seems comfortable to sit in. Has place for at least all of you, probably a few more as well. Um, Other than that, there's no one inside there. There doesn't seem to be anything in there either, no objects of anything of sorts. You would have noticed that there's this symbol or insignia on the door itself, but that's about it.
Do I recognize the symbol?
You have seen it before, yes. It would be this one. It's what would
Hmm.
have been described to you as the family
on
crest of the von
on the
Sauer's.
letters that we got from for the invitation, right?
Yes, the invitation itself, that as a seal.
So I tell
This
the others that this it looks like a carriage from the count. There's nobody in it, and it looks like it's expecting us as the real as Lucian predicted.
if it's his carriage, we should definitely return it to him. So in both cases, we should probably take it to the castle.
I say to the rest of the group, does this look like a raven to you?
It does. It is.
It certainly looks like a bird. Uh, I mean, seems like a raven. If you're
Yes, it
studying,
looks. But why are you interested in ravers, man?
Due to what Madame Eve told me, I reply.
Oh, okay. Exactly.
Okay. Can any of you ride? I mean, drive a carriage? Have you
I
done it
think
before?
if it's here and it's waiting for us, we can just go in and the horses will take us wherever they need to take us to the castle or to our.
We
I agree
can
with
definitely
Radar.
try. Okay, let's go in then, and I just jump into the carriage and make myself comfortable.
I join.
I'll enter.
Before this mimic.
the mimic closes its teeth down on your asses. Radar uh, helps Irina in and jumps in after.
Benjamin, are
I
you
look at
joining us?
Benjen outside and say, "Do you want to stay here?"
No, I want to join.
As Benjen like hoists himself into the carriage and like finds himself a seat, you hear that of the door just like shutting behind you, and then you hear like a neighing from the horses and like the steady clump 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 of hooves just like slowly moving. Um, Looking out of the uh, side windows on the carriage, it becomes pretty clear that the horses themselves they are heading upwards towards the mountains, which would be the direction of the castle itself. Anything you want to do on your little journey by horse carriage, or do you just like wait?
Look out the window.
Same.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to also look out the window and see if there's something inside the carriage as well that would give us any clues about the count.
Make an investigation check, I suppose. For being a carriage, it's rather well, like, it's pretty comfortable considering most types of carriages. The really bad carriages are like pure wooden seats and not very comfortable, but they help since you're just allowed to relax while traveling. This one seems to be more focused on very soft, relaxing pillows. So those of you that are weary from your ascent up that hill gets a precious few moments where you get to completely relax and not feel like dying. Um, it doesn't have anything like else in terms of features. There's no cup holders, there's no mini bar, there's no fridge, there's no TV. Nothing of what you would assume in a magical medieval setting. Just like a nice carriage. Um, what the people uh, looking out at the scenery notice is that you don't go immediately east. You start heading northwards to try to ascend up one of the larger hills. Uh, but then again, after winding through what is forest land, what is a craggy, mountainous hilltop, you start taking a turn towards the east again. And the closer and closer you get, you notice the castle more and more. And instead of like looking out into the valley, you start paying more and more attention to what you seem to be heading towards. Shit. Give me
Is the carriage broke?
no. You become increasingly aware of the towering castle in front of you.
Ooh,
Uh,
spooky.
there is a couple of things you notice. The castle itself, from what both Benjamin and Manis is easily able to ascertain, it's built on a secluded part on a mountaintop, meaning that there is no landlocked connection between the castle itself and the road. So, to be able to get over to the castle itself, you have to cross a drawbridge. You notice that the castle itself is made out of what seems to be heavy stone. The construction work here, the time investment it must have taken to build a castle of this size uh, probably took years and insane amounts of resources or wealth or both. You can see the towers of the castle like looming in front of you and just like reaching up into the sky. The carriage ends up stopping in front of two turrets of stone that seems to be broken from years of exposure. These two guard towers is the precipice of what seems to be a 50-foot wide uh, road that leads to a chasm. You can't really see much into the chasm from the wagon, but you have the sense that there is probably a very long way down for there to form fog into the chasm itself. As you're standing there, having passed these guard towers, you can see there's a drawbridge slowly lowering down. It's made out of what you can best see as old wooden beams. It is something that doesn't seem perfectly maintained. As you're like slowly driving on top of this creaking wooden bridge, you can see the chains of this drawbridge like swaying in the wind. Make a perception check.
Cool.
Oh, the first one to do a perception check. Manis and Assam. Manis, he's too busy looking at like the wood because he's a fan of wood. Assam, however, you notice that the links of the chain seems to be somewhat eaten by rust. You can literally see the tension in the chain as the carriage is driving over this bridge. The first thing that becomes immediately apparent to you, Assam, this metalwork hasn't been maintained for a long time. Manis, even with your perception check, you can kind of spot the same trend on the wooden drawbridge. Uh, there are holes in the drawbridge itself. Parts of the bridge seems to be prone to soon collapsing, and you get like the sense that the bridge itself is also in a state of disrepair. As you cross over the bridge, there must have been like an iron gate or something here that's been raised. Looking down on you, there are stone gargoyles just staring down at you with these dark pits where ice would have been in their eye sockets, with this like evil, hideous grins. And then you just drive into what seems to be a courtyard.
We have finally arrived.
Give me a second. See, this is where you have to like move all the tokens.
Oh, good music.
Mm-hmm.
We're on the top left, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to check if you actually have light permissions on that map. But
Yeah,
sure, just
I do.
yeah.
Okay, first thing, this thing is huge.
Yeah.
What happens is that you're driving into what's the gates. You're brought to the left of the gate itself into what is seems to be this patch of grass where there's a house standing. The carriage comes to a halt there, and you're all like slowly just like heading out of the carriage. And you can see the door close on itself, and the carriage just like slowly moves to a larger compartment in the southern area of the courtyard. From where you're standing, you're in a pretty light filled courtyard. There are torches next to the house you're standing at. So there's a door here. You can also see there's like a chained, not chained. There's like a, what the hell do you call it?
Bard.
A barred gate that's like closed down there. Uh, like literally locking off other parts of the courtyard from what you can see. Inside the courtyard, looking up at the castle itself, there is one thing that becomes readily apparent to you. This thing is fucking huge. So, what would you like to do?
Question, Johan. Where was the gate that we entered from?
To our east.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank you.
No, it would have been to the west.
Oh, okay. So here.
Yes,
Ah,
that.
okay.
From where you're standing, you would have seen the main castle gates being here.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, the carriage teleported you there.
Ah, okay. I get it.
Okay, so since the carriage left us near that house, I tell to the others, maybe we should see if there's somebody inside that we need to talk to announce that
That
why
we
we are
arrived.
here and stuff. Yes.
Can I do a perception check to understand what this house is?
No, you can do an intelligence check.
Huh. All right. Here goes nothing.
It's a house.
Okay. I go forward to the door and knock.
As you knock, there's no reaction. You
Does
hear
the
a
house look
you hear a voice behind you go like, "That is the guest house. This is where people are brought to, well, leave their things, find themselves a room for the night. If you are not here on an official invitation, of course, to stay the night."
Um,
You mean that the guests that are not invited stay here, or the guests that are invited stay here?
The guests that are not invited for a lengthy stay are put here, while the people that stay here for a longer period as personal guests of the Count, they have quarters in the castle. Whenever my father and I, or my father and Ishmark, were coming here, we would stay here because this is the more uh, simpler place for to serve as both work area and then also for a lavish area.
We definitely have to get dressed for the night.
do we need to leave
So I
our
turn.
weapons and stuff here? Is it customary to go in unarmed in the castle to the count and everything, or we can have them with us?
I would imagine that you're not allowed. I mean, we never brought weapons when coming here, so uh, uh, I wouldn't know. But since we've been invited to dinner and fine clothing were expected, chances are uh, there wouldn't be much of a place to hide heavy metal armor in a. And she knocks on her own shield. Protective gear.
well, judging by the looks of the castle, I'd say we can assume we are pretty safe here within the grounds from any outside um, influences.
Rather just goes, yeah, sure, from outside influences.
Yeah. On the other hand, the ones inside, if things are as grim as they were told about to us, not sure how much help the weapons would bring.
Let's leave the weapons. We are invited after all. At least shows that we come from a better place than this.
Ishmark told us not to do anything stupid.
Yeah, well, you know that old ancient saying, you only live once?
In
Uh,
fact, you live every day. You only die once. So open the door, Manis.
Assam,
Yes?
uh, Rather walks up to you and asks you, "Do you feel that?"
That chilling wind?
Make an Arcana check. Um, Rather has picked up on something you feel extremely strongly at this point. There's something very clearly off with that entire house. You've never really been very attuned to the magics of stuff until recently while traveling with Radar and picking up some stuff from his magic use. But in your time knowing the arcane arts, you've never felt a magical arcane presence as strong as this house. Not even in the Death House.
I don't get any other vibes like it's good or bad. It's just that there's something magic going on in there, right?
It's like the entire house is magic of sorts. It's like every floorboard, every stone, every wooden plank seeps with magical energy. Radar cannot pick up on this. He just gets this magical sense from the house. You get the specific sense that everything about this house is magical.
Okay. I tell Menace to be careful. Something seems something is odd with that house. Just be careful when you open it,
Ah,
and try to
Can you check
leave
for
all your
traps?
bad thoughts outside. I can check for trap.
all your bed what? Ah,
Bad thoughts, Gundur,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So should I assume that in this place the walls literally have ears?
I would say assume that everything here is not what it seems, and I should check for traps as Lucian wants, just to remember what do I need to press on this character sheet for that.
Uh,
Investigation.
this an investigation, yeah. Arena, you don't find any. It's not locked. It doesn't seem to be trapped, from what you can see of any mechanical trap. Arena asks, "What do you mean by traps?"
Who knows? Maybe something bad will happen if we touch this door.
It is a door.
I go and I open the door and I try to enter. That the door or where Manny sits, which one I have no idea.
As you move up, Manis takes a step back, like, "Oh shit!" and you just like clink the doorknob, and it opens. Before anyone heads in, there are no doors in this house. I didn't paint them on. You can see every single room there is. Um. So yeah, be
Oh,
aware. You
So
can
we
see.
should ignore anything that's not in our
Yes.
current room, right?
You know, it's like if you can't see the room, you're not in the room. But literally, you can explore the entire house.
cool. But it's story-wise, are the rooms to the doors, or no,
There
the other way?
are three levels of the house. It's a three-level house, so there's
Hmm.
a ground floor, second floor, and third floor.
Okay. Are there doors on the rooms, or just the rooms are doorless?
They are all they're blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry, I hate my speech impediment sometimes. All of these rooms have doors.
Ah, okay.
There's like little dotted lines to tell you where the doors go as well.
Hmm.
Um, you can assume that they're closed or they can be closed depending on what you. That sounds like 4 or 5.
I don't count the ceiling one.
I tell the others, coming guys.
This looks like a very nice lounge,
Anything?
and this seems to be the dining room. Oh, huge dining room.
Are we free to roam around?
He did say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ivan?
Yes. Free to roam around.
And this is the kitchen here.
Ooh, nice kitchen. I'm starving.
What's that behind you, Lucian?
I don't know. It looks like a bathroom. A
Ah,
closet, more like.
there's a lavatory down the hallway, right in front of you.
If that's what you call the toilet, yes.
Yes. Let's go upstairs.
I'm asking here now, where are because you've been here, where are the guest rooms? On the second floor?
On the second and third floor, yes.
Let's go
Actually,
there. Oh,
actually,
go ahead.
that depends on the layout. It all It varies from time to time.
What do
Um,
you mean it varies?
I peek down from the stairway and yell, "So this entire house is a magical construct?"
It is a created magical house, yes.
Question: Are we all inside the house, or did somebody remain outside?
I don't think Benjamin ever moved in, no.
I didn't know.
These are bathrooms, seems.
Yeah, that definitely looks like a bathroom.
Is there anything I can see in this room that indicates whose room it will be?
Um,
Like something in the closet or something like clothes.
you can see that this has both male and female different types of exquisite fine clothing. It doesn't matter.
I
What you would notice, Lucian, is that the door shuts behind you in that room.
oh
Um, you turn around, I assume.
yes.
You see Irina.
Okay.
She just,
Is
like, leans on the door to make sure no one comes in, and she just like puts a finger up to her lips, and she goes, she whispers something to you. Quietly.
Can you move me upstairs?
I can.
Big.
Well, Assam, there's like 4 rooms here on this floor, as far as I see.
I pick up the male clothes and exit the room. You said that there are male clothes as well, right?
Yes, you see the wardrobe has male and female clothes. You get this. You have an assumption that perhaps every single bedroom has this type of attire.
Yuan, is there something special about these rooms? Can I see?
I'm just giving you all the chance to explore the house first of all. And Benjen, you would have to sleep like 8 hours straight to do so. It's like a sleepy rest.
I feel like I need it.
Radar heads up to the
Third floor.
third floor. Yeah.
I'll join him.
Yeah, take me as well up, please.
So as far as I see, there's 2 bathrooms and 1 lavatory on the second floor.
A very big room.
Walking through the house, there's a few things that come off as obvious to you all. First of all, the house in itself is very lavishly decorated. There is an area for every type of leisure, whether it's like sleep, rest, desk work, slacking in front of a fireplace, a dining room, even like a kitchen of sorts, bathrooms, and toilets as well. So if you want to get cleaned up, if you need to hit the bathroom, they need to get a snack, anything of the sorts, there seems to be things here that is provided for you. Um, you notice that Radar tends to like push his hand towards the walls and like study the house itself rather than look at the rooms. If any of you were to query him, his marveling and confused and a bit like baffled at the arcane power required to create something like this.
I asked him if he ever saw something like of this magnitude.
Um, well, there's magical stuff. Well, I've been to a few cities and I've been to a few observatories that's been run by magic with mechanical contraptions fueled by magic, but this is pure magic. It's it's a spell work beyond what I know. Oh, it's impressive. Seems to be one singular spell creating this, and well, if it can create something like this, it can probably shape it as it wants upon creation.
And I say to him, and also it should have more powerful spells in his arsenal than that we can be worried about.
And if it is him that caused this thing, possibly, yeah. It's just, well, seems like a lavish place. So basically, you're all free to like look around. Those of you that's checking the wardrobes, they have the same clothing, all of them, same type of clothing. It's just like extra sets. Um, you get the sense that the clothes themselves are probably also a magical construct. Whether it's like permanent or not, you don't know. Anyone that I should put at some place or another?
Can I get to the first floor? I want to see it.
Sorry, I didn't realize that you were there.
Ooh, lavish. Who is getting the bear room?
Uh,
No one picked that
Nope.
one yet.
I'll come upstairs, please.
I might
Lush-
as well take it then.
Lucian, you should check the blue room back here.
I'm gonna go in this
Ooh.
one. I'm going in this one.
Oh, which one?
The one that I'm in now.
the yellow one.
Ah, the yellow one. Good choice.
Let me have a look at the. That's pretty cool too.
They're
Yeah.
all good. So they look very comfy.
I like how there's a fireplace in each room. And if that's not a sign of magical or arcane meddling, I don't know what is.
Can you take me back to the first floor?
Yeah, me too. But before that,
Before that, what?
I emoted.
Oh, okay. You probably want to clean up first.
Yuan, this is the ground floor. Can you take me to the one in between? I don't know.
Dude, like parterre is only for minions. People count first floor as the ground floor.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I count the ground floor as first floor, but I actually wrote ground floor and first floor. So
Ah,
theoretically, I should have known.
Okay,
Actually,
I can.
no, I didn't. I wrote ground floor, second floor, and third floor. Fuck.
Okay, can I use this room to freshen up and clean up and everything? Because it looks like
You
a bathroom and of stuff, but I have no idea about the water. Do I have magical water there?
you can see a tub. You can inspect the tub if you want.
I'll inspect it. one is that? Not investigation.
Investigation.
Yep, investigation.
Yeah, Rook,
Uh,
you're correct. There were tubes there.
it's empty. As you like lean in to look into it, you notice that the moment you lean in, water starts rising up from the tub.
Okay, so I guess I need to get a new clothes. So that's Irina's room, right?
For those of you looking into the wardrobes to try to find various types of clothes, this is the selection of finery that's available.
Nice.
Okay, I'm taking the red room, just so the others know. Do we need to say exactly what type of clothes you're taking, or just taking one? It's okay.
Yeah, could be convenient, but sure.
I'm
Um,
taking A.
I'm taking E, and I'm going to take a bath in the magical bathtub and then get the rest.
as soon as Assam finishes his bath and clears the bathroom, I
There's
shall also.
another one here.
Yeah, but there's
I,
6 of us.
I could not hear what Manis said because Assam interrupted. What did you say, Manis?
That after Assam finishes his bath, because there's 2 bathrooms for 6 people, I shall take a bath after him and use attire B.
Okay.
Writing here just to have it written in case it actually matters.
I'll take
Okay,
my
I
turn in the
finished.
bath as well.
I also knock on the door to Irina and ask her if everything is okay.
Yes, I'm just choosing a gown for the evening and waiting for my turn to the bathroom, of course.
Good that you knocked.
In the meanwhile, until everyone else finishes up, take me back to the ground floor, dear DM.
So I'll take it down because I finished. I'm guessing it's the bathroom and everything. I have no idea how long I should be in there.
For those of you choosing clothes, you know what you're suited into. This is where you have to decide whether or not you're bringing stuff with you, trying to sneak stuff in, and so on and so forth, if that is something you want. Going in with like backpacks, metal armor, swords, and shields is going to be conspicuous. So, up to you what you want to bring with you, if any.
I'm putting my signet clothing pin on
On the new
the
attire.
attire that I chose, and
How
that's all.
how big is my holy symbol? Can I wear it on my neck?
Yes, it's probably always been worn as a medallion around your neck.
Okay, can I? I'll keep that one on my.
Okay, Benjamin?
I'm going to leave everything in the bedroom, which is armor, weapons, backpack. Um, I will hold on to in my pockets the bread of nourishment, just in case I don't like the food. Um, the cards deck and the dice set I shall also keep in my pockets, and that's it. And
Okay.
of course, the pouch of money that I'll be holding on to my belt.
Okay.
You weren't very clear on what does the trophy mean for a fighter.
The what does the what?
Trophy. It's part of the.
Just like a token memento of your past experiences as a fighter. It has no.
I shall
It's
take
just
that.
literally something for you to remember from the good old days as a veteran.
I would say it would be a vampire fang thief, given his experience.
Exactly. I shall take that with me as well.
Ivan, the rogue, can I put something on my items to see if somebody moves them or try to mess around with them or not
Yep.
here?
No problems in that.
Okay, and if you can take me to the ground floor or zero floor, or...
Did we just say that we all finished the bathing and we can go to the ground floor?
Good.
Yes, that sounds like a plan for me as well.
Yeah.
Takes a while. You hear some steps finally coming down the stairs as Irina is probably the last one to finish. She just like goes like, hello? Where are we?
We're here at the fuck this room called?
Living room, I guess.
Yeah, living room.
Well then.
Wow. You should take that armor off more often.
You should take your eyes away.
1,000 apologies.
I was not talking to you. To be fair, it feels like I've been living in this armor for almost a month now, so feels good to be out of it at least.
Indeed. Whatever happens today, at least I'm happy we managed to get a decent bath.
I think for the simplicity's sake, perhaps you should ask if there are questions on what you are curious about before heading in.
Is there any protocol or behavior we should observe? Any rules of how to condone ourselves during dinner? Like what forks to use, what knives to use, or something like that?
Um, I think the best way of doing things is being polite, if nothing else. If you wish to use titles, then uh, I'm sure that would be something he would appreciate. I don't know if I've never used anything other than uh, your lordship or my lord or count. But then again, I'm native from this place, so it is customary for me.
While I think my lordship would indeed be, my lord would be indeed be reserved for natives, I think your lordship or count should be a polite way of addressing the count.
Well, potentially. I imagine he has a reason for calling us here, which is uh, mainly why we've been escorted here, I suppose. Other than that, I assume we will be met once we enter the castle itself.
Where is the castle entrance?
It's from where you enter over the drawbridge. It's
Hmm.
straight ahead.
Well, in this case, if no one else wants to do anything, I say we proceed.
How long do these dinners usually take?
Um, depends. An hour, maybe two. Enough to bring us to evening fall, certainly.
Then lead the way.
Don't worry, Assam. We're probably going to spend the night here, so the dinner.
I wasn't worried about that. Are there
Really?
many people on the count's payroll here present? From what you saw,
Uh, to be fair, I've only been invited inside the castle once. Otherwise, we've been doing affairs here in the office. Um, there's been a few servants, the chamberlain, uh, his wives, his husband. Otherwise, uh, there's been guards. Depends. Seems to be a quiet place for its size, to be fair.
and any other magical houses and stuff similar to this are we to expect?
I wouldn't know. I've never had free roam of the castle. I think it's uh, important to understand that being invited into the castle itself is one of these things that are, um, from what my father said at least, rare. The time when me and him were invited inside was, according to my father, a rare honor. So I suppose
In that case, lead the way.
she starts walking out of the house um, into the courtyard, moving southwards. Like you're studying the castle, and you get the sense that yeah, this thing is huge. It's also quite tall. There must be several levels up ahead.
I
Are
stopped.
there any gargoyles or stuff like that that we can see, or guards looking at us from above?
Two people can make a perception. Assam and Lucian. Um, Lucian, you see gargoyles on the walls. Yes. Manis, don't go too far now when I'm narrating. Um, there's ornamentations, sculpture, statues of some sorts. Assam, you see movement up on the walls. You see glimps and gleams of metal as like figures are like walking around patrolling the walls. Uh, it's hard for you to see because of the difference in elevation. You just catch just glimpses under. I don't. Can you see this? That there's like indentations and stuff in the metal in the stonework.
Yes.
I don't know what that's called. Battlements, I suppose.
Yes, I
You can like
understand.
briefly see things between the battlements at like weird as hell angles, but I mean, you are able to see certain things.
Okay.
Okay, ramparts, thanks. So, you get the sense that there's movement and there's like probably guard activity of sorts. What it is, how many, it's hard for you to properly gauge from where you are. As you're all standing, facing the castle, this is kind of what you see.
Ooh, okay, so those ramparts are at like the 90
Yes.
mark.
So literally what we're speaking of here is from the highest areas, this is at least 100 meters tall. In terms of construction work, this is beyond anything you've seen within the valley itself. Some of you have probably not even seen buildings of this size up close. Because we
Is it
literally took well over 350 feet at tallest.
120 meters.
Yeah.
Something.
is not
It's
tonight
huge.
yet?
It's now it would be closer to like 17, 18. 18, you assume.
Okay, so there's no point of me trying to see if there are lit windows.
Leaked windows or LED windows?
Uh, with like a candles or light bit on the other side. I don't know, lit,
Lit.
LED.
Lit.
Oh,
It's
Okay,
lit.
no, it's still bright enough outside to prevent that. Like you wouldn't be able to get a very good idea of things.
Are we at the front gate at the moment?
We're at the front entrance. Let me just see what you can.
The last time I've seen a castle like this was the Drakenkopf castle, back when we were fighting the von Karsteins.
I realize one thing, which is what I should probably be a bit more descriptive for you. You can currently see a wall here. It's actually not a wall. Here is just a massive ass gate. That's just literally opening up. This is like an iron portcullis of sorts that can be raised, and there behind it there's like a door, like that.
Huh.
Hmm.
uh-huh.
I should have realized that. So it's like literally you're able to see a door in there. But like the problem there is that you can also see the ceiling, so it's just like not necessarily a problem, but yeah. So you can just like slowly go in under the gate and towards the door that's there.
Well, let's head in.
Let's enter.
Okay.
Let's not keep the count waiting.
So this that we are seeing is the roof of the building.
Yes. How the hell did you get in there?
We just dragged
We
our
just,
totals.
yeah, just entered.
Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go out and let Johan move us.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering how the fuck did you do that? It's
Hey, you
just like,
told us to do it. Like, move in.
okay, when I meant move in, I meant to the other castle map. That's inside, not actually. I was just wondering, well, are you suddenly on the roof? Did you?
Yeah, we were on the roof, actually.
Yeah, we were on the roof, technically. Trying to find, like, there's a black image right now. Okay.
Reloading.
No, I'm
Top
just
left.
literally. Uh,
Manis, when did you become teal color?
Just earlier. And I think that's cyan.
Yeah. actually, Simon?
Yeah, I was looking for a color that shows the text on the dice rolls properly, because the indigo and black, you can't change the text on the dice. So if you go with a dark color, it just confuses with the text on the die.
Mine are not colored. They're all black.
Oh, you're using the 3D dice thingy,
I think so. Yeah.
and you're telling that the game runs very poor in Chrome, right?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yes.
Then remove the fucking 3D effects.
But
Uh, By the way, even there is no light in the castle. We can only see outside.
Yes, I know. That is what I'm tinkering with now. Sorry.
Because I saw that the door open, but
Better?
yes.
yeah.
Okay. Um. Sorry. This I'm gonna preface this with one simple thing. Fuck Castle Ravenloft. It is insanely huge, and doing stuff here is, um. Okay, you've headed up to the doors. There seems to be a pair of ornate outer doors that are like hanging open. That's flanked by torches that's set into sconces in the wall itself. So that's literally what I forgot to add as a light source.
No.
So sorry for that. Uh, there should have been a light source there and a light source there. Um, inside, as the doors are like opening up for you, there's a second set of doors inside. Yes.
I lead the way, Benjamin.
As you're entering into. Give me a second. That should not be possible.
Okay. The door were not open?
The door was not open. Can you all go back to the other room? And I want to click on one of you. Because you don't see. Like, none of you see past those doors, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So why the fuck are you allowed to go in through that?
Okay, we will just, if we don't see something, we will not go there.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, fix. You can try to break the things now.
We were on a different plane.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
Yes, I noticed they've changed the thing to have a new button called restrict movement. Okay.
Can we knock?
No, give me a second. I'm messing with the page. Sorry.
And by the way,
Is the I'm running back and I'm getting the invitation letters that I forgot in my backpack.
Okay.
um, out of character and out of game, Virgil. Funny enough, the game tonight worked perfectly until we ended up here and Yuan started meddling with the lights. That's when it started
Yes,
lagging.
because all those lights are 3D as well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The fake letter? Which fake letter was that?
The one that supposedly the Colion wrote.
Like, what is it bringing? Okay, before every. What is. Are you taking with you, Cubic? Azam.
So I'm taking the invitation letter that the chamber whatever gave us in terms of letters, and I'm trying to figure out which letter Lucian was talking about.
Yeah, but you ran off before he could say, so you wouldn't know.
So, yeah, so yes. So I'm just taking the invitation letter.
Okay. You wait. Takes a couple of minutes, but uh, Azam returns. Apparently. Um, what do you want to do?
Go in.
Knock on the doors.
As like one of your fists knock on the door, they start like slowly creaking open. In front of you all, you can see into a fairly lit hall of sort. You can see as you're like slowly entering. There are columns here that seems to be supporting the ceiling of a very great hall. It is dusty. There is cobwebs up high between the columns themselves. Um, the torches at the side walls are casting odd shadows across what seems to be the faces of 8 stone gargoyles that seems to be squatting motionlessly at the rim of the domed ceiling high above. In the domed ceiling, there's like cracked and faded frescoes and paintings that seems to be covered by traces of decay and abandonment. To the east, you can see 2 large double doors of what seems to be bronze. To the north, there's a wide staircase that goes up into the darkness. And to the south, there's like a lit hallway that seems to be leading down to another set of bronze doors. Uh, from that area, you seem to be able to hear something
From this
From the
area.
south?
from the southern area.
Okay.
From here.
You make a
Uh,
perception check.
Perception.
Yes, Manis and Assam, since they asked. Um, like, Assam, you hear it. There's like a flowing of noise, so you focus. Uh, for you, Manis,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to be music of sorts, like a heavy type of music from like a heavy instrument. You tend to focus to try to figure out what it is until you hear like a voice coming from behind going like
I turn around and look at the stairs.
on the stairs. Um, you can see an elf. He has brown skin. He has long black hair, and you can see him like slowly coming down the staircase. But he doesn't really make any noise whatsoever. He's quiet. You can see him wearing a grey cloak over what seems to be black studded leather armor. Slung at his left side, there's like this scabbard of a sword hanging from his belt. Uh, it's a type of weapon you haven't really seen much of before because it's like a curved sword. He notices you turns towards him and he says, "My master is expecting you."
I make a small reverence and say good evening and thank you for welcoming us.
I trust it. You are all prepared for dinner.
I look confused at everyone else and say, I as prepared as one can be for dinner.
Excellent. If you would, kindly head south to the bronze doors next to the suit of armor. Benjen, since you stopped and you were curious. Um, you noticed there's like a suit of armor standing there. It is a suit of armor that seems to be oiled, polished. It's a plate mail of sorts. It has like some ornamentation, some forms of like symbols on the chest plate itself. There's like a symbol of the von Sarovich crest. Um, Other than that, doesn't seem to be much special. It's just standing there like a trophy of sorts. There's no weapon. There's no other things. Doesn't seem similar to the armor you found in the death house that came to life. This seems to be a functional piece of armor that seems to be standing there as like a either a trophy or a showpiece of sorts. Standing here, you can see what seems to be a hallway going east that seems to be going to a spiral staircase. Uh, Next to you all, there's a set of large double doors, and you can see like light coming through the cracks at the bottom and between the doors. You can hear music coming out from behind the doors that seems to be spilling out the musical melodies from the room beyond.
Yuan, before we enter, can I detect what type of elf the one that welcomed us is? Like wood elf or something like similar?
You've never seen this creature before.
Okay.
Like, that's the simple thing. This is a whole different type of elf than you've ever seen before.
Okay.
Okay, I go toward the door and try to open it, like knocking, open.
As you place your palm on it, and Benjamin does the same instinctively at the same, the doors push open. What you can see, first of all, is like three enormous chandeliers in the ceiling that illuminates the chamber itself. There are pillars of stone that's like against dull white marble walls supporting the ceiling itself. In the center of the room, there's like a long, heavy table covered with a fine satin cloth. The table itself seems dressed for dinner. At the center of the far western wall, as you push the doors open, there seems to be a massive organ standing up, raised towards the wall. The pipes, they seem to be blaring out a thunderous melody that speaks in a tone of like power, of the force behind the music itself. You can see at the bottom of the organ, facing away from you, a single caped figure that seems to be pounding the keys and playing the tune you're hearing. Standing there, observing him, You're just like looking as this figure is like uh, playing in rapture and moving in tune with the melody. And then he just slowly stops and silence. And little by little, the figure turns around and looks at you all. Ah, greetings, visitors at last. Welcome to Castle Ravenloft. Please, come in, come in.
Lucian slowly comes in.
You see the figures just starts standing up. He leans towards something propped up at side, the side of the organ. It's a cane, and he grabs it and then slowly uh, limps his way towards the table. I see you found my invitation. I am most pleased that you chose to accept. I trust we are all hungry and ready for dinner. Yes?
Good evening, and thank you for your hospitality and welcoming us. Indeed, we are quite famished.
My lord.
Splendid, splendid. Uh, for those of you who wonder, my name is Strad von Sarwich D12. Whether or not you wish to titulate me as such, that is up to you. Uh, Lord Count, Lord. Uh, if you feel uh, this is too formal, I will, for the sake of today's meal, allow you to call me Strad. Otherwise, relax. Um, Hopefully, we can have a pleasant dinner and, well, get acquainted.
Um, I also introduce myself as Manis of Sylvania. I also formally introduce my companions, Benjen, Assam, Lucian, and of course our traveling companion, Irina, that you probably know already.
I am familiar with the Lady Kolyana. That is quite true. And Lady Kolyana, if I may, my condolences for the loss of your father. Kolyan was he was a fine man, a fine father as well, I hope. Arena nods. Uh, I would hope that we are able to, at least if nothing else, have a pleasant dinner and not think too much of sorrows and griefs, because I suspect uh, your companions, Lady Kolyana, has questions for me, and, well, I admit I have a certain degree of curiosity myself.
Indeed, Your Lordship, there are questions to be asked and curiosities to be satisfied.
The better question for you all is, do you prefer to talk during the dinner, or do you wish to eat in peace first and then we can discuss business?
We do enjoy a bit of light-hearted conversation during dinner. Uh, except for Lucian here, none of us are monks.
Splendid. Well, please be seated and we'll have, hopefully, a pleasant dinner. As you all kind of like sit down, you notice that the table itself is neatly decorated. It seems to have been prepared for the purposes of just having a calm and uh, comfortable um, dinner. I think I shared the handout.
Yeah, you did. Very nice.
You can see golden candlesticks. There's silverware, like spoons, forks, knives. There seems to be ornate wine glasses here that have the von Tsarevich crest sculpted into the side of the glass itself. The plates, they are beautifully painted dinner plates. The motifs of the plate themselves seems to be a beautiful landscapes that seems to have been painted by an expert painter or decorator. There is no particular um, features that you find to be off. It just seems to be lavish. The food on the table, it's starkly different from what you're used to so far. Not only from Barovia, but from most of your lives. You're each served a number of plates. The first plate is a smaller plate. It has a piece of bread cut from a large loaf. The sides are buttered up to form a golden crust. The top of the bread itself is cut into tiny squares, and when you look down on the bread, you can see melted cheese within the cracks themselves. When you reach down with a fork or with your fingers and you grab onto the square, you can see that the soft bread stick to the crusty square, and it's like coated with dripping cheese that leaves like stringy threads. Um, on another larger plate, you each can see what seems to be a large roasted steak. It's coated with herbs. Um, it has this strong sense of game, and it smells absolutely delicious. On the side of the steak, there are roasted potatoes, there's carrot mash, some form of roasted mushroom. There seems to be a sort of berry jam made out of some form of blueberries. And there's this cup of thick gravy. There are also trays on the table with like fruits. It seems to be a number of different types of fruits, berries, seems to be some form of biscuits as well. Some of you seem to recognize fruits such as apples, fire orbs, pears, and a range of other things that looks tasty and enticing, but are kinda unfamiliar to you all. In the middle of the table, there is a larger plate that is currently unoccupied. I'm not quite sure what ends up being there, but there's a promise of a final dish as well.
Instead of eating, I think I'll have to go eat after this.
Yeah.
I
Quite the
say
fine
this
dinner
look.
you have for us,
Yeah,
Constrat.
I couldn't hear because two people spoke at the same time.
Quite the fine dinner you have for us, Constrat.
Well, through ancient laws of hospitality, as Lord of the Valley, it is my duty to uh, provide for my guests if they are stopping by for shelter or by invitation. And as I offered you my invitation, I should be spared no expense. In fact, some of these have been brought from outside uh, Barovia itself, solely for this occasion.
You flatter us with your hospitality.
And you flatter me with your presence, sir. Uh, Hopefully, it will be a meal that, if nothing else, will satiate you all. Uh, in fact, uh, I'm certain of it because, well, the steak itself is freshly hunted deer from the Svalich woods itself. Uh, the cheese bread is my mother's own recipe from when I was young. It's made out of our types of cheeses melted into the bread itself, and it's the most splendid garlic bread there is. And he just like breaks off a piece of the bread and just like dip it into the cheese and just like eats it with his finger. Don't mind, uh, man. This is finger food, some of it. So make sure eat. Don't be too concerned with propriety.
I'm following his example and take a bite of the bread.
Indeed, same. And I think I'm going to have to do garlic bread here as well, like in real life.
It's,
Some
it's
fondue?
warm. You notice that the cheese itself is pretty mild. It has like a herby flavor to it. It's warm and dripping, but not scalding warm so you burn your tongue. It's like seems perfectly freaking prepared. The garlic is strong enough for flavor, but not enough to be like.
Is there a wine in the cups?
Um, you can see several bottles of wine standing on the table itself. As you're like peeking and you notice that the glasses are empty, um, the count just waves a hand and one of the bottles just like lifts up, spins around, and the cork just pops up and it starts filling up the glass next to you.
I
Uh,
look at the
it
count.
says Wizards of the Wine on the label, a Red Dragon Crush.
Quite amazing.
It is the most splendid wine. Not quite, but it's certainly better than the Blue Grape Crush. Um, Barovian wines are most excellent.
I take a sip and enjoy the taste.
Would you say you have had wines before you came to this place?
Yes, I would
I
say.
think all of us.
All of you would have realized that the cheapest wine from the inns have beaten any wines you've tasted elsewhere. But this thing is even better than that one. So like this is like a complete step up in taste and richness. It has like this strong sense of fruity berry flavors and grapes. It has zest, it has power, it has flavor, and it feels fresh and delicious.
Such a splendid wine, my lord.
In truth, it is the second best wine to come from the Wizard of the Vines. Uh, Sadly, it seems like their most splendid vintage left production 10 years ago. The champagne de la Stomp was most exquisite. We still have a few caskets within the castle cellars, but these days they are almost unable to find. I don't know what happened to that particular vintage, but it is a great loss for wine lovers in the valley, I think.
So, this is a very impressive castle, and the lodgings you have offered for the evening for us are also exquisite. Most of us rarely had an occasion of finding yourselves in such exquisite surroundings. Not to mention the absolutely great food.
In truth, I must apologize for the lodgings. They are uh, more of a precautionary measure to prevent uh, my own persona from unfortunate incidents with guests. As for the lodgings, we made sure that they were lavish enough for you to uh, enjoy yourselves for the duration of your stay. Um, the castle, uh, it is certainly something I would consider to be, well, impressive, I guess, suppose you could say. It is a symbol of Barovia. And,
Did I detect Arcana at your guest house?
yes, the house itself is a magical creation. It has a permanence to it from repeated castings of the spell, so it is a malleable guest house that can be shaped and altered to the caster's wishes.
Did you create it? It's an impressive feat.
Perhaps.
I don't think I ever saw such a nice spell, powerful spell in all my travels.
He leans back, like mid eating, and like, now I have a question for you. How is it that you are able to detect magic?
I've spent a couple of my young years with some elf friends, and some of it, I guess, rubbed off on me.
Interesting. Well, truthfully, the elves are, well, they have a propensity towards the magical arts, that is true. Well, I was just curious. Wasn't aware that you were magically inclined.
I wasn't as aware as well, but since our trip that took us here to Barovia, I see things have changed.
True, true. This place has a habit of changing people, whether it is for the better or for the worse.
Did your ancestors build this castle?
Ah, it is a long story. Um, the simple answer is this is just spoils of war. But the restoration of it was done by the von Zaroviches. Yes,
Spoils of War? Would you care
War,
to?
indeed.
We know nothing about this place's history. Can you tell us more? The whole of Barovia, I mean.
I could, but it's a lengthy tale. I suppose the better question to ask is, now what do you know already?
We know that accessing or living Barovia is not the easiest of endeavors.
That is true. Why is this?
We haven't had the privilege of receiving a straightforward answer to that. But as far as we understand, magic is involved, and also that these realms are not exactly in the same dimension, I think, with the rest of the world.
Ah, you've learned certain important things. Good. Now, how are you going to leave?
We have yet to have figured that out for ourselves. Right now, we are very interested in finding out how we found ourselves here.
Make a deception check on that one.
Why? Because I wasn't untruthful about it. I'm really interested in finding out how the fuck did my character reach here.
Yes, but you said you didn't know. Madame Eva kinda told you bluntly.
That we were brought here. But by whom?
Yes, but you know how to leave. Like, you know
Ah,
what
yeah.
you have to do.
True.
Yeah, I
Yes.
understand.
Well, I think for the purposes of this, let us be truthful instead of lying. Uh, in reality, you are here to spend your time participating in a grand hunt. Is this not the case?
A grand hunt. This is. I am going to be ruthlessly honest here, just in as a thank for your hospitality. And yes, we were informed that the way for us to leave this place would be to slay you. But I
It's
have
true.
yet to give credence to such statements.
In reality, you are pawns in a greater game than you've ever faced, I believe. Sadly, uh, the reality here is that your lives matter nothing to the ones that doomed you to be here. Uh,
Having
I, yes,
having lived the life of a soldier, I can say this does not feel unfamiliar. Being a pawn in someone else's more strategically important games, and one's
true.
life not being so valued.
Ah, my life started out much the same. A soldier for most of my lifetime. In fact, my early years were shaped by almost 30 years of warfare. Uh, very well, let us begin with the beginning. A long time ago, my family lived in our ancestral homelands. They were neighboring a valley that had a completely different name. I was living there with my family, my father, King Barov, my mother, Queen Ravnovia, and my two brothers, Sturm and Sergei. Well, Sergei hadn't been born at that time. Um, News came to us one day of our neighboring allies, an elven kingdom in this valley, being invaded by a people called the Turks. Uh, we asked our friends and neighbors whether we could offer assistance, but they were overran before they ever had a chance to accept our proposal. Apparently, the elves had splintered and murdered the royal family. One of their princes escaped, and he is currently my chamberlain and brother, Rahadin. But with news of the downfall of our neighbor and the invasion of this people called the Turks, we were obviously um, worried. So we sent diplomatic envoys. The Turks told us that their quarrels were with the elves, not with us. We had nothing to fear, and, well, my father, uh, an honorable man, figured, well, so it is, so it was, and we thought little of it. And for a year or two, we had little to think of, since rumors were that the Turks were standing down. They had no intention of hostilities. Conflicts within our neighboring realm had died down, and normal life resumed until the invasion came. The great horde flooded our ancestral homelands. They fell upon our people, our villages, like a scourge. Villages put to the torch and sword, countless innocents murdered, farmlands burned down, towns and forts razed to the ground. My father called his bannermen. He wanted to make a last concerted defense to repel the invaders, and he did. Through a great and desperate defense, our forces held the line. And that was the beginning of a 27-year-long war that raged on for most of my, well, adolescence, my young adulthood, and my adulthood. I rose through the ranks as a officer, eventually becoming a general, and through the assassination of my father and mother, I was left to fend off as the supreme commander of our forces. My middle brother, Storm, assumed the day-to-day running of the kingdom itself. And my youngest brother, Sergei, was bereft with grief, nearly a boy of 2 or 3, not quite understanding why people had come to murder our parents. So, in a war that had dragged on for over a decade at this point, it was up to me and my brother Sturm to wage war. These barbarians were relentless. They were stubborn, refusing to give up any inch of ground they gained, preferring to fight to the death rather than retreat in an orderly fashion. And the war dragged on. For every push, there was a counter push. For every soldier that died, 2 more rose over his corpse to fight more. It was it was in many ways the very essence of war, the horrible, pointless, senseless loss of life. Although, me and my bannermen, we managed to hold in every combat encounter. We managed to push and push and push, and for some ungodly stroke of, well, strategical thinking, Sturm not only managed to feed our armies, feed the populace, supply us, he also managed to find a way to get the coffers growing. His skill of management were far surpassing that of father. I think he would have made father quite proud, to be fair. But the war raged on. Another decade passed. We had almost won back our ancestral Sarovian lands. And as we had finally driven them back into the valley again, we considered that that was perhaps the end of the war. But after nearly 25 years of blood and suffering, our people were tired. So they came to us. They begged us, pleaded to rid us of the scourge once and for all. And so we did. We mustered the last remaining weary veterans of war, some with us from the beginning, and marched on the valley that you today know as Barovia. We pushed in, we fought them, and at the very top of the Tser Falls, I challenged their leader to single combat. And this arrogant brute decided that puny soldier probably no big deal. He met me face to face. And there is one thing a slow, lumbering brute knows, it's, well, muscular strength is power. What any skilled soldier knows is technique beats strength. A quick stab to the throat, and that was it. No matter how strong this lumbering brute was, with a single prick of my sword, that was the end of the war. And 27 years had passed. Me and my brothers had become orphans. I had proven myself a battlefield commander. Sturm had proven himself a kingdom manager. And our people were tired. So we decided to do something against tradition. I, as firstborn, had claim to the throne, although Sturm was always the more capable administrator. I passed on my claims to the throne to him, and he carried over the bloodline in our ancestral home. I took up uh, the seat of the valley as Count and Lord of the Valley, and, well, wanted to first quashed a few seeds of rebellion that was remaining. Then we set on to establishing safety, the introduction of law, the expectation that brigandry, violence, pillaging, murder were not to be accepted. And then we went to this mountainous ruin and rebuilt it from the stonework up. What once was a heap of stone in extreme disrepair became a castle fortress in its prime. In honor of my mother Ravenovia, I called it Ravenloft, the home of Ravenovia herself. Alas, she never lived to see it, but she always had this striking, majestic appearance that caught the eyes of anyone that beheld her. And I think the castle in its prime was a symbol of that. However, this valley you are finding yourself in is not the same valley that we conquered so many years ago. Um, you are quite right when you say that this is a different plane of existence altogether. There was an incident that caused my current affliction, which also propelled the valley into a wholly different dimension. Uh, my informants tell me that the valley we conquered over 500 years ago still remain to this day. My brother's kingdom still remains to this day. Apparently, my relatives still rule these lands. Alas, the Barovia that you see before you is it's a construct, a creation of malevolence and evil, set to torture the poor souls finding themselves within this place. And as you probably surmised, I am the jailer of the damned, and the first of the damned. You are the hunters, I am your prey, and the only way for you all to leave is through my demise. Often I meet visitors as you, some bloodthirsty, others pious to a fault, and I'm always curious as to what uh, manner of creatures you are. So the civil ones I invite to dinner. And well, here we are.
We very much appreciate your pleasant words and hospitality. About us having to slay you being the only way for us to go to leave this place. As I said, we've been here for for a few days right now. This is our fourth day of being here, and we most certainly would need more information and a better understanding of the situation before we go down such a drastic path.
Oh, how naive. Do you really think you have the time to think of this? You are in a game where you are merely pawns. Your influence here is negligible. Fan. Negligible.
Negligible.
Thank you. That was not in character. Um, the N word at best. Um, whether you want to or not, you think you have a choice. You will not. I am bound by certain laws, one of which prevents me from doing certain things, such as murdering you upon setting foot into my domain for my own safety. Others, committing suicide. In the same manner, you are prevented from doing certain things as well. There is only one escape for you: death and eternal damnation. or rising up against me.
As far as I see it, with the information we have gathered so far, then words that have been used as you being the jailer of the damned and the keeper of all evil things within does not necessarily sound like the greatest idea to kill the one that keeps all evil in here.
True, which is why someone has to supplant me at that.
So I am not yet certain, and I can safely say that I'm speaking in the names of my comrades here as well, that bringing forth your death and demise would be a good or better thing for everyone involved. Because, as again, with the information we have gathered so far, unleashing all the evils upon the worlds from which we came would not be something we would be keen on doing.
That would possibly be true if you thought that evil did not already exist.
Evil truly does already exist in within each and every one of us, but there are some things more evil than others.
Possibly, but what makes you think that the evil contained here is any more or less depraved than the evil you've already seen?
Well, the evils of men are many, but the evils of undead are different.
And what do you know of undeath?
Me being from Wallachia myself, and as you've stated, our country as well had its own innings with the Turks during our tumultuous history, and also fighting in the wars against different vampire counts. I can say that if this realm is a place that keeps vampires and undead creatures and risen zombies within and prevents them from overflowing into the other world, into our world, death and eternal damnation might not be such a steep price to pay to keep our homes safe or safer.
A rousing speech. Too bad it is mired in lies.
Excuse you?
I said, too bad it is mired in lies.
Yes, I did fully understand you in the first time. I was just being pleasant enough to give you a chance to explain. What do you mean?
Well, you speak of things that are impossible. You speak of vampire counts. There are none. I am the first, and I am the only. Truth is, time does not bend the same way in Barovia. Whatever you would have faced elsewhere means that it's from a place outside of the timeline of this place. If there were other vampires, it means either my time have passed or I have escaped. Meaning you could not be from Wallachia, which is also not a place. It's called Walachi.
Have found that particular confusion earlier, and I'm not talking about the close by town here. I'm talking about my own home country, that it is called Wallachia.
Also, I can assure you the Turks were brutally put to the blade over 500 years ago. So I tell you again, too bad it is mired in lies. The reality you hold dear is not a reality that counts for this place. I am afraid.
Well, Assuming that this is correct and hearing about how time flows very different in this place is not the first encounter with this statement, we have yet to experience the full extent of it. So I'm sorry if I do not understand exactly what you mean or in which way it affects us.
In time, I think you will. And if not, I hope your companions are perceptive enough to catch on.
Um, I look around at the table and say, I hope so too, drinking a sip of wine. But still, my experiences and past, while they might contradict your knowledge of them existing, does not make them false.
That depends. A memory can be something quite different than what you actually experienced. What might have happened might have not actually have happened yet. And what you are so certain of does not necessarily have to be a reality. Evil is not a physical manifestation. Evil is not a concept. Evil is something within every man. You are all capable of great evil. You are all capable of great good. That is why I assume you've been brought here. You have the capacity for great things. The question is, how are you going to spend your time actually using that capacity?
Indeed, the potential of good and evil is vast within each other, within each of us, and I'm not speaking only of us here at the table, but in humans in general.
You
Um,
call yourself a vampire hunter. Now, how would you kill me?
hmm, no, I call myself a soldier. The wars we fought were not in realms of having a small brigade of hunters. No, they were wars with troops and armies. Uh,
And you made bold claims in Barovia itself, in the middle of the tavern, that you had hunted vampires. Now, okay, you're part of an army. Now, how would you kill a vampire, I wonder?
the simplest way would be stakes through heart.
So, if I take a wooden piece of splinters and stabbed one of your friends through the heart, would he be a vampire?
No, but he would definitely kill them.
Exactly.
Ah,
And
you
we are
go.
back. We are back to the question: how would you kill a vampire?
That is the only most efficient way of slaying a vampire, as far as I know.
Did you know that once, a couple of 100 years ago, a man came to this castle with a silver knife coated in garlic? He
Uh,
breaks off a piece of the garlic bread and eats it. It did not go very well.
I assume so. We've heard of someone coming here some time ago and trying to challenge you, and that it did not end very well for those that raised their arms against you.
I would ask you a simple question. How do you think it is for someone like me to still be alive after 500 years? If everyone knows and talks and gossips about my affliction, if people are brought to this realm for the sole purpose of murdering me, why do you think I am still alive?
Most probably because everyone else failed.
Exactly. So I ask again, how do you plan to kill a vampire?
And we did say, right now, we are not planning on killing you or any other vampire.
He takes a long look at Benjamin. He takes a long look at Lucian.
Lucian looks back.
He takes a long look at you, Manis. Truly, at least 3 of you have expressly told people that you would handle the situation. Now, I do not blame you for this. This is your destiny. This is your fate. But as someone who actually wishes to die, I am curious as to how you actually plan to do it. Nothing would please me more than for you to succeed. But you see, we have a problem.
Which is?
Points to Benjamin. Are you able to use your smite ability?
Sure am.
Take a knife and cut my throat.
I've no need.
Why not?
I've no need to do that. Why would I want to?
In time you will understand.
Your Lordship, what I fail to understand, and maybe you might help me get a grasp with this, is why do you want to die?
That will be a story for next time. That was out of character. Look at the time.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we're pausing it here.
Yes!
Okay.
Let's record the question for next time.
Yes, I'm actually writing that down.
Maris, are you recording this?
Yes. 2 hours and 43 minutes so far.
Because it was a lot of text and I may have missed parts of it.
What was the actual question?
Why does the Count want to die?
At least his version.
Okay.
Madam Eva already told us one version.
Again, like with all the respect towards Yuan and his impeccable character building, putting myself in the shoes of my character, knowing and taking at face value everything that we've been told by a strange gypsy woman waiting for us for 2 weeks while we have only arrived for 4 days, might not be the greatest of ideas. If that makes any sense.
Sorry, what was that? I wasn't paying attention.
I was saying that with all due respect to you, your character building and effort put into creating the characters and the storylines, putting myself in the shoes of my own character, it's hard to take at face value stuff that a random strange gypsy woman tells you.
No, of course it is. I wouldn't trust gypsies in general. Just
But
by literally them introducing themselves as cutthroats, thieves, and murderers. I wouldn't trust them.
Exactly.
but she knows great many things. Come
She
on.
knows great many things, yes?
I'll ask you the very best question you should ever try to answer here. Who can you actually trust?
No one, except yourself.
Irina, maybe. She looks good.
Yes, that is a common pitfall.
When you say pitfall, did you actually mean peatfall?
Yes, beautiful.
No, I didn't, but it works.
When is next session?
It's a good question. I think with the prep work, I do not have the capacity to do 2 times a week. I have no chance in hell.
Sunday the 14th, then?
Sunday?
Uh,
2030?
here is going to be my honest statement. I was going to suggest if you had got